Thumbs up all around. Perfect. Okay. Let's make a start. So we're going to be seated, but cross the opposite leg to which you would normally cross. Just in the interest of balance. It might feel a little bit awkward to start with, but if the hips and the knees need a little bit of extra support, you can hug on your knees, either with your elbows or the wrist joint if the knees are feeling good. Let them fall down towards the sides. You're welcome to just take a little wriggle, a little shuffle so that your sit bones are comfortable on your mat before closing your eyes and resting your hands either on your knees or on your shins or on your ankles, wherever feels good for you. If it's chilly where you are more than welcome to keep on an extra layer, particularly at the beginning of the class, and add it on at the end of the class if you need it, maybe even some socks, just so that you can stay warm and stay comfortable. We will build up some heat pretty quickly, so if you've got the layers on now, you may not need them in, say, 5-10 minutes time. So let's take a moment just to close our eyes and center your attention on your breathing. Without changing anything necessarily, just notice the inhale, the inflation of your lungs, and the exhale, the softening of your ribs. We'll be breathing as ever in and out through the nose, which is warming, calming, grounding, and gives you a point of focus as well. Particularly with some of the poses that are a bit challenging for strength or stretch or balance, check in that you're still breathing as comfortably and rhythmically as you can, and that you're not concentrating or twisting so deep that your breath begins to catch and hold. I'll check in with you at those moments. As ever, know that you have plenty of options, but if you take a particular direction on the right side, try and replicate that on the left as well so the body stays balanced, but at the same time recognize differences with strength and flexibility and joint range, right side to left side. And wherever you need to, take breaks, take pauses, take rests, whether it's a sip of water, a moment to catch your breath, or just a little bit longer if you need some space. Find a pose that you find comfortable, and then come back and rejoin the practice when you are ready. So we'll begin with a little gentle mobilization and then build a little bit of warmth in the muscles before moving on to the main part of our flow. And then we slow it down, strengthening and stretching before the final relaxation at the end. So let's take a lift up through the front of the body. From your sit bones, rise up through the torso, grow a little taller. Without letting the lower ribs flare, lift the shoulders up and back, rising up with the collarbone, maybe a slight lift of the chin, so that the crown of the head is now the highest point on your body. And then we'll anchor down and ground through the back of the body by extending the back of the neck, so maybe the chin starts to level a little bit. Dropping the shoulders, dropping the elbows, softening the grip that you have with your hands. Feeling the strength travel down the back of the ribs, through the torso, and into the base of your spine and onto the mat. You're welcome to keep your eyes closed for a moment longer, but if you wish to blink them open, you can do so. We're simply going to reach our fingertips left to right, extending our arms shoulder height before turning our palms up. Breathing in and reaching up overhead, connecting your palms. Breathing out, pressing the hands together, slowly lower, wide elbows, until such point that your palms naturally lose contact, and then we'll send the fingertips wide again, left to right. Turning the palms up, breathe in and lift. Reaching up high, palms connect, elbows widen, squeeze the hands together, lower down. Let the palms naturally come apart as you reach wide again. Up high as you breathe in, pause at the top. Take a hold of your right wrist and gently tilt across to the left. Feel the side ribs lift and expand with a gentle lean as your weight shifts. Reach up, breathe in, swap the wrists around, and then tilt towards the right. Again, feeling the weight shift, the side ribs lift. One more time each side, reach up, swap the wrist, tilt to the left. Maybe a little further if you're feeling brave, just don't let your balance be compromised. Reach up, breathe in, swap it around, and over to the right. Lean a little further if you're feeling brave, check in with your balance, and then come back up through the midline. Reconnect your palms, breathe out and lower down. Bring the hands back to the knees or the ankles, wherever you were resting them initially. Relax again the shoulders. And we'll take a gentle tilt of the head over to the right shoulder. Let the left shoulder lower down. Perhaps you even place your fingertips on the tip of the shoulder to allow it to soften. And then a slow roll down, looking in between the knees, in between the thighs. Feel the back of the neck extend, allowing the chin to drop. And tilt the head over to the left, feeling the stretch to the right side of the neck. Watch that the right shoulder doesn't chase your ear. Maybe you put the tips of the fingers on the shoulder to encourage it to soften. And then gently lift your chin, feel the front of the neck stretch as you elevate your chin to the ceiling. Before coming back over to the right side. And then let's reverse that journey. So look up first, lift the nose, lift the chin, stretch the front of the neck. Over towards the left, feel the right side of the neck stretch. Gently let the weight of the head roll forward as you look down, chin to chest. And back over towards the right side before sitting up tall and coming back to center. I'm going to take a quick turn sideways. You are welcome to stay where you are, but change your legs around. So cross your natural leg in front of the unnatural one. Take a light grip of your fingertips over your knees, and we're going to draw the elbows back whilst lifting the chest, lifting the chin, arching the back and breathing in. And then do the opposite. Straighten your arms, roll over the hips, send your spine behind you and around the back. You can lean back as far as you can without tilting over. Take another breath in, sit tall, arch your back, lift the chest, draw the lower ribs forward as the chin extends. And breathe out, round the back, send it behind you, hold onto the knees for balance, scoop your tailbone underneath before rising up and sitting tall again. Either roll over the ankles if you feel comfortable to do so, placing your palms on the mat, or lightly sweep your legs to the side, and we'll make our way into a tabletop position. Spread your weight evenly through your hands underneath your shoulders and your knees underneath your hips, drawing the belly button in and up so the lower back is firm, shoulder blades pressing onto your back so your upper back is firm. Then we'll take some shoulder circles, moving over the wrist space, forward to the side, back and to the other side, and let your wrists guide how big this movement is. Maybe it's small, maybe it's bigger. Feel the pressure change across the hands through the wrists and the fingers before changing direction. Your hips will naturally move as well, that's okay, but we are concentrating on the shoulders, the arms and the wrists. And then when you're ready, we're going to pause and make our way back to our neutral spine. We're going to send the right leg behind you in line with the hips, pointing the toes, flexing the foot, it's entirely up to you. Before letting the right leg cross over your midline to the left, take a look over your left shoulder and let the toes lightly tap the outside edge of your mat. Before lifting up through the midline and then taking the toes to the right side of your mat, take a look over the shoulder, watch the toes lightly touch the ground. 2 more times, the foot lifts up through the midline and then over towards the left hand edge. Now think about squeezing the side of the ribs to the side of the hips so the waist muscles are active. Lifting up and over again and to the right. Squeezing the side of the ribs to the side of the hips as the toe touches the ground. One last time as you lift up and over. Take a bend through the left elbow. And this time think about the shoulder and the hip coming closer together. So it squeezes a little tighter. Ali, this is where the triceps are working. Up and over. And to the right, bend the right elbow. Think about bringing the right shoulder to the right hip as you pause. Extend the leg behind you, neutral spine. Release the knee down. If you need to shake off the wrist for a moment, you can do that. You can either sit back on your knees or just pace them out here before we do the same with the left leg. Extend, lift it up behind you. Foot flex, toe pointed, whichever you prefer. Then let the left leg cross your midline over to the right hand edge of your mat. Take a peek over the shoulder, toes touch the ground before we lift up and over and to the left. Again, looking over the shoulder as the toe lightly lands on the ground. 2 more, make your way up and over, gentle rainbow shape with the toes. Think about bringing the side ribs to the side hips as you look over the right shoulder. Lift again and take it to the left. Left ribs to left hips as the toe touches the ground. 1 more and a little bit bigger, so lift up and over, drop the right elbow. Think about bringing the shoulder towards the hip so it's more of a side bend. Last time, up, over and to the left. Left elbow bends, looking towards your toes before extending your leg behind you and bending the knee. Perfect. Take a little lean backwards, take your wrists with you, palms up alongside your knees, and just a light press on the back of the wrists, giving that a tiny stretch. If you need to have a drink of water, take it. If you need to adjust any clothing, you can do that too, because this next bit is going to get you warmer. Place your hands ahead of you again, as if reassuming your tabletop position, but we're going to extend the legs for plank. One at a time, sending the legs away from you. Push through the arms, so we're lifting the chest away from the mat. If I exaggerate, try not to sink through the shoulders. See how much distance you can get away from your mat. And then I'd recommend widening your feet stance just a little bit, because we're going to lift our right arm up ahead of us. You can do this on your knees if you need to. So with a breath in, the right arm extends. Just pause for a moment, send your fingertips away. Lightly release, left arm, lift and extend. Remember to drop to the knees if you need that. Left arm down, then it's the turn of the legs. Right leg up, pause, just hip height, that's perfect. And down, before the left leg lifts, up, pause, and down. Excellent. Release the knees, and then come onto your forearms for a forearm plank. Parallel forearms if that's comfortable, extending the legs when you're ready. Remember, you can still do this on the knees. So now the nose is about in line with your wrist, maybe a little bit along the forearms. We're going to rock forward, push onto the toes, nose comes in line with your thumbs. Then push back onto your heels, nose comes midway along the forearms. Don't forget to breathe. One more, forward, nose in line with the thumbs, thighs also working. Push into the heels, pause, and then release the knees down. Take a child's pose. Widen the knees as you take the pressure off your arms, off your shoulders, stretching them ahead of you. Chest on top of or in between your knees as it sinks down. Another chance to breathe, to drink if you need it, before we begin our main flow. So when you're ready, we'll rise up. Send the hands near the front edge of your mat, shoulder distance apart. Tuck the toes, send your heels back near the back edge of your mat for your downward facing dog. We'll take a little walk. Drop one heel, lift the other, pushing down into the back of the leg, feeling the stretch, and then swap. One heel down, the other lifts, pushing down the back of the leg. Let's go one more on each side. Dropping the heel, feeling the stretch in the hamstrings, and swap. Before we find our feet hip distance apart, parallel feet, heels lowering, straightish legs, long arms with the head relaxed between your upper arms. Taking a breath in, we'll lift our right leg up to the ceiling. See if you can keep an eye on your right toes as it rises, right big toe especially, squeezing in towards your midline for three-legged dog. Then the right knee bends, comes underneath you, ripple forward through plank and take a step between your hands. One big step, lots of little steps, or help it along. And we'll allow the knee time to line up with the ankle as the hips lower, looking forward, finding your balance. Before we breathe in, reach and rise, high lunge, arms lift up. Good, lovely. Shoulders are facing the front, your hips are facing the front. We've got our left glute engaged to squeeze this hip bone forward. Being as generous with the front knee as your strength allows, rising up if you need to, sinking down if you can. Long arms, relax shoulders, breathe. Then we're going to lower our left heel down, keep the right knee pointing forward, pause here for a second, warrior one. Then open out your shoulders, squaring them to the long edge of your mat, warrior two. Good, nice. So warrior one is a little bit trickier because you change the angle at the hips whilst maintaining the forward position for the shoulders. Relax your arms in warrior two. Send the fingertips left to right, shoulders over the hips, pressing slightly out on the right knee with the glutes engaged. Awesome. Take a breath in as you reach forward with the right hand. Breathe out, reach down. Left hand up and over. Pivot onto your back toes and then step back for plank. Softly with the knees down to the ground. Release the toes. Tuck the elbows in towards your body and slowly lower as you exhale. Landing lightly. With the palms on the mat, we'll breathe in and curl up either for baby cobra with the elbows bent, or if the back allows, cobra pose with longer, stronger arms. Still again, elbows tucked, chest forward. Breathe out and slowly soften down. Curling back to the mat. Tuck the toes, let the knees bend as you rise up, straighten your arms. Then the hips lift, the heels drop back, and we find ourselves in downward facing dog again. Pause for a moment just to catch your breath. And then we'll move on to the left side. Next time you inhale, lifting your left leg, keep an eye on your left big toe, keep it close to your midline, extending the foot towards the ceiling, pointed or flex. Three-legged dog. Bending the left knee, bringing it underneath you, look between your hands, stepping through. One big step, lots of little steps will help your foot along. Let the knee line up with the ankle as the hips lower and you find your balance. Before taking a breath in, reach and rise up to high lunge. If balance is a challenge, step your left foot a little wider, dig in with your toes. And we want again the shoulders to settle above the hips, draw the belly button in, engaging your right glute this time, so the hips face forward just for a moment. Before the right heel lowers, keep the shoulders facing the front edge of the mat. I quite like to push away with the left knee and back with the right heel, so we've got this lengthening exercise through the middle. Then turn your shoulders and extend your arms, warrior two. Shoulders still above the hips, checking in with the bend in the knee, engaging this glute here to lightly press the knee wide, long through your fingers. Breathe in, reach forward with the left. Breathe out, reach down, up and over with the right hand, pivot on your back toes. Good, and step back for plank. Lightly again onto the knees, releasing your toes, tuck your elbows, breathe out and lower. Let the elbows brush your ribs as you descend. Curl up again on your inhale, baby cobra or cobra pose, slightly higher, slightly stronger, deeper back bend, more front body stretch. Before lightly breathing out and lowering all the way back down. Good, tuck the toes here. Drive away from the ground, let the knees bend. Before the hips lift, legs extend and the heels lower. Taking a pause if you need a drink of water, a rest in child's pose, or hold downward facing dog if that feels good for you. If you are holding this position, check in with your hands, spread your fingertips wide, push into the pads of the fingers, lifting the knuckles and then extending the wrist if that feels good. So it takes the pressure out to the wrist joint if your hands are ahead of you. If you're ready to move on, we'll come back to the right leg as you breathe in, extending it to the ceiling, holding it up just a moment longer, taking a bend in the right knee, and then aiming the toes a touch higher towards the ceiling. Still anchoring the left heel if you can, so you'll stretch your left hamstring, strengthen the right, before the knee comes underneath you, scooping chin to chest, ripple forward through plank, and land your foot. Awesome, well done. Okay, from here, a little trickier, we're going to lower our left heel, staying in this position. Let the left hip lift and rotate. And not only are we going to rise, we're going to turn sideways into warrior two simultaneously. So breathe in, cartwheel your hands up and over, sideways on, warrior two. Well done, good, lovely. Relaxing the arms, lift the chest, extend your fingertips. Take a breath in, reach forward with the right, flip the palm up and then lift it up and over for reverse warrior. Seeing if you can maintain the bend in your right knee while the right elbow lifts, fingertips extend, feeling the stretch in the right side of your body, but the strength on the left. Good, really nice, well done. Up and over back into warrior two. Slightly trickier this time, keep the legs where they are. We're going to turn the shoulders to the front edge of the mat. So push away with the right knee, push back with the left heel, shoulders rotate. Just hold here for a second before we reach forward and down, pivot on your back toes, step your right leg alongside your left. The option now to stay on your toes rather than dropping to the knees, rock forward if that's for you, before bending your elbows, coming down, land lightly, then let go of the toes, before curling up for your back bend. Think about your shoulders and elbows pulling back, your chest and ribs pulling forward, and that your wrists want to squeeze towards your hips. You might feel the glutes fire up a touch more. Then a breath out takes us down gently. Tucking the toes, you have the option to keep the legs straight or bend them like before. We'll rise up with a plank or a tabletop, your choice. Then when you're ready, the hips lift, the heels drop back, and we find ourselves in downward facing dog. Once more. Taking a breath, gather the thoughts, and then the left leg on your inhale rises up. Hold it up a moment longer, take a little bend through the knee, extend the toes higher if you can. Anchoring the right heel, lifting the left toes, you've got this stretch and strength of those two hamstrings now. Before the left knee comes underneath you, step forward when you're ready. Allow the hips a moment to lower. Keep your hands on the ground for a second. So same thing here, the right heel, pivots down towards the ground, right hip starts to lift. We're going to rise up and turn sideways straight into warrior two. When you're ready, inhale, cartwheel the hands up, and we land here, softening the shoulders. Good. Relaxing the arms, long fingers. Reach forward, breathe in with the left, flip the palm up and reach up and over. Lowering the right hand into reverse warrior. Checking with the front knee bend, high elbow on the left, long fingertips and soft right arm to carry the strength through the right side of your body. We'll rise up again, warrior two, long arms. And then keeping the legs where they are, turn the shoulders to the front edge of your mat, extend your fingertips up, press away with your left knee and down into your right heel, breathe. Then we reach forward and down. Once your palms are on the ground, pivot onto your back toe, step back to your plank. Knees or toes again, your choice, but if you're on your toes, rock it forward. Then bend the elbows to lower. Elbows brush the ribs, land lightly. Good. Soft toes, inhale and lift. Extending the chin slightly, drawing the elbows back so you're spiraling your bicep muscles forward. Triceps hug the ribs. And then lower down to breathe out. Tucking the toes again, straight legs or bent. We rise up, lift, tabletop or plank. Before the hips rise up even further and the heels drop down. We're back in downward facing dog. All right, let's take a breath here. If you need a drink, it's yours. If you need a rest, it's yours. If you want to stay in downward facing dog, stay here and check in with your feet, which should be parallel, hip distance apart, toes forward, heels back, aiming for the ground, but it's okay if they don't touch. And then the knees can be bent if you need them to, or straight if that feels good. All right, last round of our flow. Take a breath in, lift the right leg up. This time a big bend through the right knee sends your heel back towards your hips as your right knee lifts high and wide. Engage the glutes, engage the hamstring. Then if possible, send your left shoulder away and draw your right shoulder closer towards your base foot to square your shoulders up whilst the hips open. Keep the bend in your right knee, bring it underneath you. Look towards your hands and step through. Excellent, well done. Let the knee lower down, let the hips lower down. Look ahead of you and come back up sideways. Warrior two, up, turn, lift. Gorgeous. Well done, really nice. Reaching forward, flip your palm, breathe in, lift up and over, breathe out, reverse warrior. High right elbow, generous bend in the right knee, squeeze the glutes, scoop the tailbone underneath you, and then back up, warrior two. Preparing for warrior one, keep the legs where they are. Turn your shoulders, turn your chest, lift your hands up, pause. Then drop your hands down behind your hips. Interlace the fingers, lift the chest, take a breath in, and then we're going to lean forward either on top of or on the inside of your right knee. Once you're here, let the head start to relax. Look down at the floor, look back at your left feet. You've only got one foot. And then lift your knuckles if that feels good. Long straight arms reaching towards the ceiling. This is humble warrior. So feel the awesome strength in your legs. Feel the strength and stretch simultaneously of your shoulders. Don't forget to breathe. Relax the head. One more breath. Before we rise up, lift the chest, lower the arms. Release the knuckles, reach up. Feel the fire in your thighs. Reach forward and down. Step back for plank and please feel free to take a little walk like you need to shake the legs off. That's awesome. And then we'll lower down again with the option to pause where your elbows brush the ribs, chaturanga, hover, roll over the feet and rise for upward facing dog. So the hips and the knees are elegantly floating off the ground here. You still have cobra and baby cobra, still choices. Lastly, we can come up through a pike, push onto the tops of the feet, roll the toes when you're ready, drop the heels down and pause to catch your breath. Last time, left leg on your inhale, reach it up behind you. Big bend in the knee, sees the heel coming back towards the body as the knee lifts high and wide, the hips open. And then this time the left shoulder pulls closer to your foot, the right shoulder is a bit further away, shoulders square, hips open, still breathing. Left knee to your chest, rippling forwards through plank, take a step through, let the hips lower as the knee bends, nice. Drop the right heel down. Get ready to lift and turn up to warrior two. Send the left knee away, ground down into your right heel. Relax the shoulders as we land in the pose. Reach forward, breathe in with the left hand, flip it up, and then up and over, lowering the right hand, reverse warrior, elbow high, checking in with the bend through the left knee, stretching the left side, strengthening the right. Before we inhale, lift up again, warrior two. Then keeping the legs where they are, reach up, turn forwards, warrior one. So again, press away with the left knee, press back with the right heel. Before you breathe out, release your arms, interlace the knuckles behind the hips. As the arms straighten, lift the chest, take a breath in. And as you exhale, lean forward on top of or on the inside of your left thigh. Let the head start to relax. Look at the ground, look back at your right foot. And when you're ready, see if you can extend your knuckles up, long arms, reaching to the sky for humble warrior. Again, feeling the strength, feeling the fire, feeling the heat through the legs and your super strong core. Head still relaxed, still breathing. One more breath. Before we inhale, rise up with the head and chest. Lower down with the hands, release the knuckles, reach up, pause. Then reach forward, reach down, and step back for plank. Again, please take another little walk if you feel the need to shake the legs off. I do. Before we descend, bending the elbows, sinking down, breathe out. Maybe you pause halfway. Then lift up, rolling over the toes, upward facing dog. Tuck the elbows again tight towards your sides as if your triceps want to touch your ribs. And then push through pike and back to downward facing dog. Well done. Sinking the heels down. Let's take 3 breaths here. You can do it with movement or staying still if that's better for you. With movement, sees you lifting onto your toes as you inhale and dropping back into the heels as you exhale. 2 more breaths to go. Rise up or stay still and lower back down or hold your position. One more time. These deep breaths are helping the heart rate to slow and letting the body relax. Perfect. Then the knees come down. We'll untuck the feet, send the hips back, reach forward, coming off the arms, sinking the chest down, and having a moment to relax in child's pose. Excellent, well done. All right, feel free to grab some water, adjust any clothing. If you notice that you might start to get chilly, remember to add those layers on. We're going to do a little bit of work where I'd encourage you to keep your socks off just to help you stay anchored into the ground, but certainly in about 10 minutes time, if you need to, you can add the socks on to keep your feet warm. Okay, so our stretch and strength poses that we're going to flow between, it's going to be your yogi squat and a wide-legged forward fold. So hips are open, we're going to adjust the position of the feet, we're going to have the knees open as well. So tweak if you need to, but we're going to be focusing on widening the hips, targeting the glutes just a little more. I'm going to be facing you, but if you want to work on the lengthways edge of your mat, heels will be on your mat, toes will be off as we make our way into the yogi squat. So you can step your way there gently, one at a time. So you see the toes are dialed out, letting the knee follow. Bring your other foot into that similar position, mirror it, and by all means take a little rock side to side to allow your knees and hips just to get used to the position. And then we'll pause in the middle. When you're ready, lift the fingertips off the mat, bring your palms together and press the elbows lightly into your knees. So if you need to rise out of this one, come a little higher, you can do that. If it's comfortable to sit low, see if you can bring the shoulders above the hips and the hips underneath you whilst pressing the knees wide. And it's these muscles here working to draw the knees wide. And of course we're breathing. If you want a little bit more, lift out of it just by an inch, pushing the heels into the mat, knees wide, breathe. And then we're going to place the hands on the mat, dial your heels out in line with your toes, legs straightens, chest lowers, wide-legged forward fold. So coming back to our hamstring stretch, but a little bit more space for the hips with the feet wider than hip distance. Relax the head, relax the arms, relax the shoulders. And then we'll return to our yogi squat, heels in, toes out, knees bend wide, sink the hips down, lift the hands when you're ready, chest up, palms up, shoulders back. Imagine with the pressing back of your elbows that it's your shoulder blades coming onto your back as much as the elbows coming wide, and that will help you to sit tall. One more breath here. And again, hands down, legs straighten, hips up, feet parallel with the heels coming wider. Aim your forearms down to the mat. They may not touch yet, that's okay. Let the head hang heavy. Shake it, nod it if that helps. And the gaze should fall naturally between your knees. And then I encourage you to take the feet a little wider, heel, toe, once or twice, a little wider, and then see if the elbows and forearms perhaps can sink a little closer to the ground. Of course, if the hamstrings are tight, they may not yet reach, and that's okay. Breathing out to sink a little deeper if that feels good. And then we'll take a halfway lift with the fingertips on the floor. Rise up, straighten the arms, but use the strength in your legs to hold you here. So the hands are just there to guide a little bit for balance. Draw the lower ribs in, extend the crown of the head, extend the tailbone, but keep a little bit of softness in the knees so you're not pressing out on the knee joints. And then the option here to add a twist. It is optional. If you prefer just to hold the strength here, you can do that. Otherwise, the right hand is going to reach to your left ankle. Let the right shoulder lower as the left shoulder starts to rise. And a further option, if balance is with you, is to lift your left fingertips and extend them towards the ceiling. So the hold that you have on your ankle assists that shoulder coming forward, and the fingertips that are lifting assist that shoulder coming back. So your hips are horizontal, there or thereabouts, and your shoulders vertical. You can look sideways on or up towards your left fingers if balance allows, before releasing your twist, coming back into your forward fold, hanging low. Relax head, neck and shoulders. Take a breath out to deepen. And then a breath in to come up, halfway lift. Fingertips on the ground, arms long, just there for balance. Good, well done. Drawing the lower ribs in again. And if you took the twist on the other side, let's do it here too. So left hand reaches towards right ankle, allow the shoulders to start to twist. Adding the option to extend your right fingertips up towards the ceiling. So we're looking again, horizontal hips, but vertical shoulders. Reaching up high, looking sideways on or towards your elevated fingers, holding onto the ankle to facilitate your twist, and then release, come back down through the middle. Perfect. Heel toe your feet closer, closer, and closer. Bend the knees when you need to until the toes come to touch, and we'll take a slow roll up to standing. So draw the chin towards your chest, lift through the lower back, then the mid back, then the upper back, slowly through the back of the neck and the head. Roll the shoulders back when you reach the top. Turning your palms forward, we'll find mountain pose. Squeezing ankles and knees together, drawing the belly button in, tailbone lowers towards the ground, pushing into the floor and then lifting the crown of the head. We'll take our attention initially to the right leg. If you wish to, lift your toes, ground them down again, take up space, and then soften your right knee whilst you start to take your left leg out of the equation, because we're going to lift this one in a moment. You can have your hands on your hips or out by your sides. Find something to look at that's not moving, and when you're ready, start to lift the left knee up. Bringing it straight up ahead of you. If balance is a challenge, tap the toe down whenever you need to, or if you can, bring the knee up in line with the hip and pause here. You can keep your toe pointed, your foot flexed, or halfway in between if that helps. Then the right hand is going to reach across the outside of your knee joint, hook your fingers, lift and lengthen, and either stay here or take a slow rotation to the left. Take the shoulder with you, pulling the left knee forward. If possible, you can extend your left arm behind you as well to deepen the twist. We've done a couple today already. Maybe even looking behind you if balance allows. Tap the toes down when you need to. Slowly return your gaze forward, releasing the knee when you're ready, gently tapping it down. Good, well done, nicely saved. All right, take any movement the way you feel stiffness, maybe around the hip flexor, maybe a bit on the ankle that you were standing on. Then we'll come back to mountain pose. Squeeze left to right, front to back, top to bottom, and take your attention over the left leg. Perhaps you lift and reground your toes, softening the knee. Start to get rid of your right leg. We're going to float that one up in a moment. So imagine the lightness coming through on your right side. Hands on hips or by your side as you start to lift the right knee up. Remember, you can toe tap down whenever you need to. If possible to, bring the right knee in line with your hips. Foot pointed, flexed, or halfway in between. Then the left hand reaches across, just hooks outside of the right knee. Lift and lengthen. We'll take a slow rotation to the right. Keep the knee forward if that feels good. Let the right shoulder loop back. You've got the option to extend your arm behind you. Maybe even take your gaze behind you. Tap the toe down whenever you need to. Don't forget to breathe. And then slowly return your gaze forward. Release the knee when you're ready and gently tap it down. Good. Take a little walk, shake it out, dance it off, whatever you need to. And then we're going to come forward fold again, but this time narrow-footed. So chin to chest, look down towards your belly button, start to roll forward with the body, slide the hands down the legs, reaching down towards the mat, finding your forward fold and pausing. Feeling the stretch through the back of the legs, a little bit of tension through the front of the thighs, long, heavy, relaxed arms and head. And a halfway lift here sees us rising up flat in the back. Slide the hands up the shins, tap your elbows in towards your body, lower ribs wrap tight, belly button draws in, long, firm, flat back. Good. Breathe out, hands come down, bend the knees to allow your fingertips to touch the floor. Keep bending, keep bending, keep bending until you come to sit onto your mat. Somewhere central on your mat if you can, reposition if you need to. Find your sit bones anchored down, slide your fingertips behind your knees, lift and lengthen and take a slight lean back to peel your heels up off your mat. And we'll start nice and gently. We're going to lift one leg, just hover the shin parallel with the ground before gently tapping it down and changing legs. So you've literally just got your toes on the mat and your sit bones while the rest of the body is elevated in one way, shape or form. Keep the movement through the legs, lightly tapping the toes before floating the shin up. And if you wish to make it a bit more challenging, when you set one set of toes down, don't set them all the way down, hover them off your mat. So we're working through boat pose, lifting and lowering the legs. Another option is to start to swap your legs. So as one lifts simultaneously, the other one lowers. Lift and lower, lift and lower. Good. Another option is to work both legs together. So connect your knees, connect your ankles, lift at the same time before lowering down. You can set your toes down or hover them lightly. Another option to consider is the grip that you have behind your knees. Maybe you lighten to fingertips only on the outside springy edges of the hamstrings while the legs still move. As you do this, lift your collarbone. Let's find a lovely, tall, perfect posture again. Feel the core muscles engage. And lastly, see if you can release your fingers entirely. Palms come alongside your shins. Remember, you're moving one leg at a time, both legs together, toes on or off the ground. Building a bit of fire through the core now. Let's do one more move before we set the toes down. Hold onto your knees, roll the shoulders forward. Give yourself a well-deserved squeeze. Excellent, well done. Last little work for both, but something slightly differently this time. We're going to come back up. If you're comfortable with that double leg position, let's find that again. And then see if you can be brave, release your arms. We're going to open the boat out, send your toes away and your head back. So open, just halfway, before we lift up and squeeze. Come back. Two more. Oops. Open, send the toes away. Lift up, squeeze. And on the last one, we're going to open all the way, slowly, slowly though. So send the toes away, send your shoulders away, extend, hips open, slowly, gently, shoulders, calves, back, feet, head, onto the mat. Perfect, well done. Bring the knees up in towards your chest. Take a little rock side to side, squeezing tight. And then we're going to place the heels down close to our hips, within touching distance of our fingers, hip distance apart. Palms are going to be by your side. You're going to draw your belly button down, letting your lower back firm up against the mat. And with a little tuck of the tailbone, the hips will start to lift. I nearly said heels. Hips will start to lift. Pushing into your heels, I was thinking ahead, start to lift the hips a little further. Tightening the hamstrings and the back of the hips. The back lifts a little further. Rising up, 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 until we find bridge pose. We're aiming to have the hips at the highest point. It will be your knees, but we're aiming for the hips to rise. Just check that it's not the ribs, that we're not flaring the lower ribs and sending the chest high. Connect the front of the ribs to the front of the hips. It almost feels like you're drawing your tailbone towards your knees, and that way you'll keep a little bit more strength through your midsection, also keeping the lower back happy. Slight elevation of the chin if that feels good. Keep space for your neck. Don't forget to breathe. Fire through the glutes, fire through the hamstrings, strength through the core, and then a slow roll down through the top of the shoulders, the back of the ribs, mid-back, lower back. Tuck your tailbone until the last moment, and then the hips come down. We'll take a gentle sweep side to side of the knees, left to right, as the tension releases from your torso and your lower back. Then we'll take another round of bridge with the option to add some arms. If that's not for you, keep your arms by your side. It'll lift and stretch the chest a little further, but it might be a bit strong in the shoulders. So we'll start again, pushing into the heels, draw the belly button in, tuck the tailbone, lift the hips, push into the heels a bit further, hamstrings start to fire up, glutes start to fire up, hips floating up towards the ceiling. Reach, 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 reach. Check in with the lower ribs, draw them towards your hips, draw the tailbone down towards your knees. So the option with the arms is to wriggle your shoulders underneath your body, bringing your elbows closer together, allowing you to interlace your fingers, and then reach your knuckles towards your heels. So you'll be pressing onto your triceps at this stage, lifting the chest a touch further, stretching the front of the body, but strengthening through the shoulders. Checking that the knees are still about hip distance apart, that they haven't drifted wide. Still feel the firmness through the glutes, the torso, and the hamstrings. One more breath here. And then we'll gently wriggle the shoulders out, release your hands, and take a slow roll back down to your mat. Gently, gently. They say vertebrae by vertebrae, all the way down through the back. And once the hips have landed, gently swish your knees side to side, left to right. Let's bring the knees back up in towards the chest. Give yourself one final well-deserved hug and squeeze. You can lift head, neck and shoulders, curling into a little ball. And then gently release. If you need a blanket, a jumper, some socks, please add them now before you gently walk your feet away. Coming into your final relaxation, long body, relaxed limbs, palms up by your side. You are welcome to close your eyes as you sink into your relaxation. Checking in with your body through your feet, your legs, your hips, your torso. Let everything soften, relax, and become fully supported by your mat. Continue your journey up through the ribs, the shoulders, the arms and hands. Again, relax, let everything sink into the mat. And lastly, try and relax the back of the neck, through the jaw, soften the cheeks, and ease out any tension through the forehead. Falling into the natural rhythm of your chest as rises and falls. Breathing softly, gently, rhythmically. I'm afraid I can't tell you who the author of this quote is, but I saw it the other day and it made me smile. The nature of yoga is to shine the light of awareness into the darkest corners of the body. And for me, you know that saying when they say, I suddenly feel like I have muscles where I didn't know I had muscles. If you've done maybe a pose or a workout that's a little bit different and it's switched on some muscle fibers that you weren't aware of. Raising awareness, shining a light into the darkest corners of your body. So for me it's quite physical, but for you it might be a bit more emotional, it might be spiritual. It doesn't matter. Let it mean to you what it needs to mean. And then with that, we'll bring a little bit of movement into fingers and toes, hands and feet, arms and legs. And then whatever else your body needs, it might genuinely be stillness, it might be a stretch, it might be a squeeze, it might be a twist. Your choice, your practice. And then when you are ready, and there's absolutely no rush, make your way back to a seated position. Nothing fancy, no tricks, just cross your legs in whatever way feels natural. In fact, you don't have to cross them, you can bend them, you can extend them, you can sit on them, whatever you like. Just find a position which feels good, one that allows you to connect to the ground, but lift through the front and anchor down through the back. We'll finish by reaching our hands wide, again in line with the shoulders, long arms, turn the palms up. Reach overhead as you breathe in, connecting your palms, lowering to breathe out, sending the elbows wide, pressing the hands together. And then a little lean forward lets me say thank you for your company, your efforts and your attention, but please give yourself a thank you and well done as well. I hope you have a wonderful evening and a fantastic rest of the week ahead of you. Thank you.